Hello, Shekhar. How are you doing?
Uh, Hello, Poonam. I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing well too. Thank you. So, thank you for your time for this discussion. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on your admission to Chicago Booth MBA program with scholarship. How does it feel?
Thank you so much, Poonam. It feels really good. To have satisfactorily completed one phase of the journey and to be earnestly looking at another, at the beginning of another journey. And I feel, the MBA application process is such that it takes a lot from you. It takes a lot of effort and after sitting here today, I feel really fortunate to have been admitted to this excellent center of higher learning. At the same time, I feel determined to make the most use of this opportunity and leverage all the resources to come on the other side of this experience as a transformed individual.
Of course, it's a great accomplishment, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank
So,
you.
Shekhar, can you tell our viewers about yourself? Where are you from? Where did you do your undergrad? And what do you do now?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Mumbai. I'm born and raised here, but I've moved around, and I think my most educative experiences have come when I've been outside my home. So I graduated from Bishpilani's Goa campus in 2011 with a degree in information systems, and soon joined a software company in Pune. I worked there for a year. While I liked my job there, a combination of things really led me to question what I was doing and to seek more value from my professional experiences. After a brief, after toying with the civil services for a while, I eventually joined the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship. It was a 3-year Government of India fellowship where I worked in one of the rural areas of the country. It was a really transformational experience for me. But at the end of my fellowship, I was looking for an opportunity to experience policy making, and decision making at scale. And this led me to the Reserve Bank of India, which I joined in 2017. And I've been fortunate to have been provided the opportunity to draft some policies and take some decisions which through several hundred banks that we regulate impact over 1 million people. Uh,
Yeah,
so yes, so this has been my experience so far.
right. You have followed a unique career path. So, after working for, you have a degree in computer science, and after working as a software engineer for 1 year, you decided to work for the government. So, what was your motivation behind this transition?
Yeah. So I'd always wanted to, I'd always seen my professional experience as being something that creates larger value than just the value for myself. Of course, as a software engineer, I was in a way doing that, but a combination of circumstances. One is in 2011 when I was working as a software developer, a large movement, against the state of corruption scams took place in the country, and I found myself attracted to the movement. It was led by this Gandhian individual who's by the name Anna Hazare. And while I was as a passive observer, as slowly I got more involved in the process. I read about India's problems and quest for some solutions. And with this increased consciousness, in early 2012, I went on a family visit to Singapore. I
Mhm.
think this was what was a trigger for me when I saw that there is this nation which was uh, you know in a similar situation or perhaps a worse situation, as compared to India in the 1950s and 60s, and it has transformed itself within, say, less than 2 generations into this first world economy with a very high quality of life, very little crime, and a very good social system. And I came back really determined to catalyze a similar transformation in India. Uh, a quest for a more, this direct role in India's development led me to eventually to the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow Scheme, uh, which which I believe was something was more of a learning experience for me. Uh, and as much as I could contribute, it was truly something that I feel was a once in a lifetime experience. And since then, I've been with the government because I think I have found my comfort zone, being
Right.
having working with the government.
Interesting. We'll talk more about your work later. When did you start thinking about MBA and why now?
Yeah. So I really, as a prime minister's fellow, I really enjoyed the breadth of experience that my work, provided me. I got the opportunity to work in, governance reforms, in education, in infant and child health, in, in housing, and generally in rural development, infrastructure. So, when I joined the Reserve Bank, while I was actually looking for some more depth into a particular domain, I found that I was missing the breadth that I found myself operating in as a fellow. Uh, so I started looking for roles that would allow me to have more have both more breadth and a sizable amount of depth. And that search for such a role, I really discovered that management consulting would be the kind of role that would, it's with its project based approach to work, and its and the and a consultants, working with a diverse range of players on, a diverse range of complex problems. I really felt that, this was what I wanted to do. At the same time, I believe in late 2018, Jet Airways which used to be a large airline in India, faced was facing a big, survival issue. And I found that, and they had engaged McKinsey for a particular, to solve a particular set of problems, and Boston Consulting Group to solve a different set of problems. And it was really interesting to me to see, how they got the depth in how each of the companies, the consultants that were working got the depth that they needed,
Hmm.
while also, of course, they would also be working with other companies on totally different problems. So the breadth also was that part was also there. And Then my research into, how I could get into to management consulting with my existing experience led me to the discovery that an MBA program would prepare me much better to be more effective as a consultant, and make it much easier for me to pivot into consulting from what I was doing.
Right.
At the same time, I had been, working with the government and in the public sector for several years then, and I felt that, I'd become comfortable. It was my comfort zone, and I really wanted to shake off any hubris that I had, and I wanted to, put myself out there,
Right.
seek feedback on what are my areas of development really, and to then, take time to work on them, specifically to really transform myself as a professional, and even, as an individual. Like, for example, two areas that I felt were things that I could focus on was, in being able to effectively communicate with, with stakeholders in a diverse range of industries, as also, being able to really solve, or look at problems in a more structured kind of manner,
Right.
and use frameworks to solve them. And I think an MBA program, really at this point in time, would be the perfect, addition to what I'm experiencing as a professional.
Yeah. Thank you for such a detailed response to why MBA. So, what are your career goals?
As I mentioned, I'm looking at leveraging the MBA to, of course, first pivot into to management consulting, probably, if preferably, strategy consulting, because it would provide me a diversity of functions and industries. At the same time, I am also looking to after working there for a while, after getting exposure to to a range of problems and a range of industries, to really leverage that understanding and that knowledge to maybe say 5 to 10 years down the line, work with, say, an organization like the Niti Aayog, which is India's policy advisory body, or with some state government, in a in a leadership capacity, or in an advisory or leadership capacity, to work on resolving long-standing issues or challenges, and maybe attract investment of big plans on how to strategically move towards a particular goal. So that is what I feel is my my long-term goal, that I see myself doing 10, 15 years down the line.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about GMAT. GMAT is a critical component of the MBA application process, and you scored a stellar 780 GMAT score. So, what are your suggestions for those people? What are your pointers, guidelines for people who are struggling to ace the GMAT?
So after having gone through the entire GMAT process, what I have found is that every individual has his or her is going to have his or her own challenges and solutions, and then their individual journey as far as GMAT is concerned. Uh, uh, but at the same time, I understand that it could be frustrating when the score that pops out on the screen does not really is you do not feel is representative of your of the value that you add, or of your professional abilities. Uh, uh, One thing that I really feel is, or that from my experience I could say, is that one thing that I maybe was something that is not done by everybody, and was something that I did, was being consistent. So I prepared for my GMAT for 5 months, and I do not recollect there being any one single day where I did not practice, even if that was for 30 minutes. But I would always practice, even if work was killing me, even if personal commitments took a lot of my time. But even if it was for those 30 minutes, I would still practice. Uh, as such, as far as tips are concerned, maybe what I could advise on is what I did, what was how I structured my journey. So as far as quantitative ability is concerned, I mean, I really had. My understanding was that it is going to it is about testing my comfort with concepts. So the first thing that you do is you strengthen the concept. Are consider, or you excel in the understanding of the concept, and then you start thinking about the application in a time bound manner, and taking time tests, and exploring the wonderful resource that GMAT Club has. I think is the key here. uh, as an international student and somebody who is from South Asia, I've always found that quantitative abilities is really not something that peers from my geography struggle with. It is generally verbal ability, and verbal ability with its three sections, sentence correction, critical reasoning, and RC, reading comprehension. Each requires a different set of understanding. I felt that sentence correction for me was something that I could easily master, and because it is more predictable, it is more grammar oriented, it is more quantitative like. So my focus was on really excelling in sentence correction, and ensuring that if there were 12 questions, all 12 of them were correct for me, or maybe one or two wrong. But that was what I did for sentence correction. For critical reasoning and for sentence correction, I have found that the strategy guides that the popular strategy guides that you can access on GMAT Club are really helpful to really set the stage. And I went back to them multiple times during the course of my preparation. For sentence correction in particular, I also found this video series by video series called Thursdays with Ron, which I believe you can now find on YouTube also. That was very helpful for me, and I would advise everybody to at least do that once during their preparation cycle. Reading comprehension for me was something that was never predictable, and I could never really, I could never really figure if what would be the number, what would be my accuracy in the in those questions. But as some, but of course you would need to prepare for reading comprehension, and what I would advise is, what I have found useful is that you know reading novels or books or even
Mhm.
newspapers for that matter. While these would be helpful for you to generally become better, or make better your language skills. I really do not think that they are directly related to how you will be comfortable, or how you would be or your comfort with reading comprehension, comprehension passages. I have felt that if you want to be better at solving reading comprehension questions, you must read more comprehensions. You must make yourself comfortable with reading those often boring and often abstract passages, and making sense of them and becoming comfortable with the language and the structure that they use. Um, I think that was about it as far as the strategies are concerned. I am always I would be available. I think I'm sure Poonam would share my contact details. I would be available to anybody who's looking to who's struggling with preparing a robust GMAT strategy. I could take a look at their strategy. I could take a look at what they're doing, where they're going wrong, and maybe advise however I could. But mind you, I am no expert. I when I went for the test in 2019, I was not expecting a 780. I would have been happy even with a 730, 740, or a 750, because the test is so unpredictable. Because of the RC the RC unpredictability that I just mentioned. So
You're being too
all the
modest.
best.
You're being too modest in saying that I wasn't expecting 780. I would have been happier with 730, but you earned it. That's
But
good.
really, Poonam, I would like to say that the test is so unpredictable that you generally really do not you are not sure what you're going to get. If you get that score, it's good. But as far as my target range was concerned, it was never a 780. It was, of course, the highest that you could get, but 750 was also something that
Mhm.
that I would have been happy with. But nobody would complain with a 780.
Of course. And thank you so much for all these valuable tips to prepare for GMAT. Now, let's talk about application prep. Can you tell us something about your application planning and preparation? What was the most challenging aspect of the school admission process, and how did you approach that challenge and overcome
Yes.
it?
So I believe that there were several elements of my professional background, and even my personal attributes that I found were at a variance with what you would see from a typical MBA aspirant. And what I found is there is a typical MBA aspirant, that would be somebody who's working in some of the feeder industries and who's in a particular age group. I was in neither, and then what I found was my biggest challenge was this unconventional profile. I was coming from the public sector, from an organization where people are generally looking at that job as a career, as some place where they would retire from, and
Right.
never so anybody I would talk to, anybody who would ask me what I was doing, studying during my lunch breaks, when I tell them that I'm thinking of an MBA abroad, they'd be very surprised. And because it was just so unbelievable for many people to think, why would somebody quit that job, and struggle, go outside into this unpredictable world, considering the visa situation that is still it provides the context for all MBA applicants. So that was there. I had There was no peer, there was nobody whom I could whom I could ask how to go about this process. I was already about to I was already about to turn 30. I had a wife who would not be able to work in the US because of visa restrictions, and I did not want her career to be impacted in any manner because of this decision of mine. So there were these challenges that I faced, and during my particularly during my initial days, I found it really difficult to really find answers to those questions. But
Mhm.
in bits and pieces, through a variety of resources, and by being fortunate, I found certain amazing resources that I am really thankful that I was able to find. So one of the first resources that I accessed, and that I still go for several times, is this website called MBA Crystal Ball. It is by some it has I mean, I think it is something that was founded by a gentleman called Samir Kamath, and he has done such a wonderful job at bringing all all the knowledge that he could into and really demystifying the entire MBA abroad application process. And I still go there, just to whenever I have a doubt. Another resource that I was fortunate that I was able to access was this technological platform called Applicant Lab. So I found it really useful uh, to think at a more granular level on what my strengths were, where I want to go, which kind of company I want to target, what is my short-term goal, long-term goal, what are my important stories. Those kind of things I was really able to, because the questions are very specific and require you to put in a lot of thought. And I think I spent about a couple of months just on that platform uh, to get my pre MBA, to go through my pre essay ideation. Um, um, I was and then of course, once I had these ideas ready, then uh, I contacted you, Poonam, and then you took over from there, and those ideas, putting them to into a language, or into a structure that an adcom would value, because it is sometimes, when you are operating in a vacuum, as I was, you really think that you create your own assumptions on what admission committee members value, and oftentimes you are wrong, you are mistaken, and that was perhaps what I was doing, and I was not really satisfied with how my essays were shaping up, and even my resume, which I had spent several months perfecting. I realized when I spoke to you that it was far from perfect. So what I found was that there were really two attributes that you brought to the entire process. One was your a clear and precise understanding of what adcoms value, and what should be the narrative of my essay. Like when I'm presenting ideas, what is it that is more critical, and what is it that is more fluff, and how and then again, a related second part, that second attribute is where your ability to cut the clutter, your ability to be to put in as precise language as possible, and as crisply as possible the ideas that I wanted to present. And I would admit that several times I would being somebody who likes to write, creative writing, I would go into this emotional euphoria, where I would then go into my own prose, and that is where I found that bouncing off my ideas against you, I was really able to extract value. Two more resources that I believe that would be helpful for aspirants or applicants to learn more about schools. Of course, you should be attending school events and talking to current students or even alums. But there are these ready-made resources available that really lay the foundation of how you must of how each school is different from the other. So those were MBA missions, school guides, and similarly Veritas Prep school guides too, which I referred even before my interviews, because you sometimes tend to forget what were those unique elements of that particular school that really attracted me to them. So I found that this entire journey from when I started to where I am today has had so many contributions from so many people, many of whom may not even know that they've contributed so much, and that is how the world of internet and this day and age, digital age operates. But I am thankful to all of them, and it has been it has and their efforts have truly helped me a lot.
Great. So, what are your three top application tips?
Um, I feel that, of course, every aspirant or every applicant would have their own journey. But my learnings, if from the past 1.5 years that I've given to this process, if I have to really crystallize them into 3 points, that would be the first one would be, own your story. Really spend time on the various milestones in your life. What have you done, the decisions, the challenges, the your dreams, your aspirations, where or your even your mistakes, your successes, your failures. Key people who have led you to where you are, key moments that really changed the way you think. um, Try to put as much thought into it as possible. The earlier you start, the better. Maybe even make a note, or at least, or what I would advise is, maybe once you've identified these, uh, just make a mind map. Just try to explore the connections between each of them, and try to see if one complements the other. uh, uh, because what this will do is, this will really add substance and individuality to your story, and your story is what you are going to tell through the various components of your application. So it will be your resume. It will tell the adcom a particular story about your professional achievements. Your essays, which are going to, of course, different schools have different elements, or different essays, but it is going to talk about what you have thought, how you think, how about yourself now, how you think about your values now, how you think you want to be in the future, and how do you think your MBA experience would be. So I really feel that putting all that thought into your story, into really identifying, into really knowing yourself,
Right.
would make your stories really worth reading. The
That's
second
very important.
the second thing that I would really advise is something that I've already alluded to. That is that, um, be yourself, and think freely, but always confirm. So what I'm trying to say here is that when you are writing an essay, or when you're thinking about thinking, when in your ideation stage for a particular essay, you know uh, some essay might ask you to think about when you have engaged with, say, diversity in your life or in your professional experiences. So you might have several examples of how you engage with diversity, and diversity could be about identity, about experiences, about opinions, so many things. So you could have your own perspectives, and maybe you write, and maybe you figure that this is the one element of diversity that I want to discuss, and then you write,
Mhm.
whatever amount of words you want to write. Uh, but then I would advise that whenever you do, have somebody who's going to read that, and who somebody who has a stake in your success. Not just anybody, because there might be people whom might be your colleagues, and you feel that they have good command over language. But if they do not have a stake, maybe they will just be cursorily reading your essay, and they might come back and say that it is okay, it is fine, I don't have any input. But if there is somebody who has a stake in your success, who wants you to succeed, they might come back and even if they do not talk about your language, they might question your ideas, or they might say that this is maybe not flowing freely. So it always helps to have that have that kind of additional confirmatory
Right.
voice. The third
Always,
tip that I would
yeah.
sure,
I
sure, Poonam,
always,
please.
yeah, I always tell people that English writing skills do not automatically translate to MBA admission writing skills.
Surely they
It
do
is
not.
very different. You may be a
Yeah,
very good at English, you may be a very good writer, still you may not be able to write good admission essays.
surely. In fact, what I feel is that I'm into an international school would generally be accepting applications from so many a range of countries. People in India might have studied in English and might have a decent level of command over English, but there might be people who have never studied English, or who have just recently picked up. So it is quite possible that the way they articulate their points is perhaps wanting in linguistic or in language, in finesse in language, but it is eventually it is going to be the ideas that matter.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
uh,
And third tip?
yeah. So the third tip that I would have is that you find your own path. Just because your friend, or somebody has applied to only two schools, and or attends an admission event once every week, doesn't mean that you need to do that. You need to go
Exactly.
follow the same path. Everybody is going to have their own strengths, their own
Exactly.
expectations, and their own and they might be having vastly different amounts of time on their hands. So just spend some time before your application process starts, and just go through that process and try to understand the process, and prepare your own plan. Find your own course of action. And once you've done that sufficiently well, and once you've gotten that confirmed by somebody who might be able to help you. Once you've done that, follow your path, trust yourself, and trust your ability to make a plan and stick to it.
Right. Right. I absolutely agree with you. So, how is Booth the best school for you? How would you say you are a good fit for the program?
So when I was, before the MBA application process started, before I started preparing for the GMAT, I started looking at the websites of different schools, and at these school guides that I mentioned earlier, to really understand, each school. Coming from an international perspective. Um, what you are doing is you are comparing an apple to another apple. Really, some apple might be redder, and some other apple might be sweeter than the other. But sitting here, eating your bananas and your oranges, you really do not know much about, or cannot know much about those foods. And it is there is really, for you, it is going to be a very big difference, from you coming from the school. So it was similar to me. Harvard and a Yale might be much similar to each other. Sitting, coming from somebody who's graduated from big Pilani Goa campus. So, but then it is of course also important to decide which schools you want to apply to, which schools really appeal to you. Where do you find that? Where do you see that fit? Uh, because eventually every application is going to cost you, 250 to 275 dollars, which is a huge amount for somebody who's not earning in dollars. So when I started this process, the first school that really appealed to me and was really stood out distinctively to me was Booth. The commitment to intellectual curiosity and to independent thought really appealed to me. It spoke to me. It was like it reflected who I am, and I really felt that I would thrive in such an environment and enjoy the experience of challenging everything and championing the question and finding answers to those questions. So coming from a context where the last time I had, that I had last time I had studied was a long time back. I really wanted to experience that 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 commitment to pedagogy and to a rigorous commitment to education. And and that was and that really appealed to me. So it was always going to be Booth for me as my number one choice. But of course, that did not mean that I did not apply to other schools. Considering how competitive the MBA application process is, I did apply to other schools. But Booth's flexible curriculum, where I am able to choose my own journey and decide on which areas I would want to
Right.
experience breadth in, and which areas I would like to dive deep into. Really was really something that I felt would help me design a better experience for myself and to learn better. And this past 1 month that I have that I have been an incoming good student, I have found that the community is so welcoming. I have spoken to current students, to incoming fellow admits, and to alums, some of whom have actually contacted me on their own suo motu, and they've offered to help me with whatever questions I might have, and I have put forth my questions, and they've taken no time to respond. Faculty members and staff members have also contacted us
Ah,
and spent some time on really talking about their school so much so early into this entire journey. I feel that this is a community that really wants me wants my full self, my quirks, my inhibitions, my fears, my dreams, my aspirations, and wants to really contribute the maximum that it can to help me fulfill my ambitions from an MBA experience, and to overcome any challenges that I feel that I might face. And I think I could not have asked for anything better than this.
great. It's good to know that even before joining, you are already feeling a part of Booth community and
It
feeling
does, in fact.
good about it. I'm happy about that. So Shekhar, while working with you, I found your volunteering experience is very impressive. You have worked with the rural population. So could you share with our viewers some of your volunteering experiences?
Surely. So, what Poonam is, what you're alluding to as volunteer, it makes it so formal. What I see is just a group of friends really helping each other, solve their problems and grow as individuals. So, I probably would just provide a brief background of the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow scheme that I was part of, to give some context. This fellowship ran into cohorts, from 2012 to 2015, and from 2014 to 2017, where young professionals were provided an opportunity by the government of India to work in these left-wing extremism affected and conflict-prone, really development challenged districts of the country. The fellow was to work with the district collector or the CEO of the district administration, and really provide that catalytic support to the district administration uh, in providing governance improvements, or in better planning and more effectively implementing government programs. So while I was working as a Prime Minister's fellow in a district in rural Odisha, uh, I happened to be working in a village where I I was welcomed into the village by this enthusiastic group of young people very few of them actually spoke Hindi, which was the only language that I knew amongst the languages that they spoke there. But who were always very engaged with me, and really considering that I was somebody who was who wore jeans when everybody else wore shirts and trousers, who looked different, who wore colorful clothes, and who really looked different, spoke funnily, in a language that uh, that they've only heard in movies, or their prime minister talking in. So it was in the beginning I was perhaps a subject of some amusement for them, but as time progressed, we developed
Yeah.
a deep bond with each other. During the course of my interaction with the young boys, I discovered that that the village and the surrounding areas was really challenged with alcoholism and some form of drug abuse. With some even some younger juveniles actually uh, being caught in the trap of alcoholism and drug abuse, and and then a generally wayward lifestyle. Um, Having spent some time in the village, I discovered that it was perhaps because they maybe lacked role models, or were did not have many opportunities of self-expression, and perhaps school or college education was also not really attracting, or able to attract their attention too much, and perhaps they had a lot of time in their hands, and an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So
Mhm.
perhaps, I discovered that there were several reasons, and during the course of my fellowship, and after a bit after that, I worked with the with the boys to really see if I could create certain avenues for them to engage with each other, to join with each other, and do something together, or create strengthen certain institutions that could keep them engaged, or provide some mentorship or guidance as far as their careers are concerned. I feel that while I would not say that I did anything exceptional, because I did not have the professional training to do anything. But what I found is that the boys respected me, and even today they respect me quite a lot. And I think my way of paying back that respect is to help them in any which way I could. And even to this day, uh, like they like to be in touch, and they ask about me, ask about how I'm doing in Mumbai, and
Mhm.
and generally talk about their lives. When somebody one of the boys might have left college in the middle, in say in their second year, and then start working on his father's field, and then he might come back to me and say, how can I then how can I complete my graduation, and then that would give me a trigger to learn more about the entire graduation apparatus in India, and how there would be millions of youth like him who would be forced to quit their job or quit their education to help out their families, and how they would be able to complete their education. So it is something that it is a symbiotic relationship, I would say. I like to be engaged with them because they give me the trigger to be more idealistic and to do something, and I believe that they feel that this is somebody that we respect, and maybe somebody that we should talk to and engage with more often.
Yeah, you made a difference in their lives. That's why they respect you. They hold you in high esteem.
Perhaps, I think I'm thankful for them to for the opportunity that this has provided, because it is certainly not it is not something that would happen, happens to would have happened if if not for those chance meetings that I had with them. But yes, I'm really I feel really I feel really happy that this is something that I was able to do.
Right. So finally, we have been living in COVID world for the last 1 year, more than 1 year. How do you think this pandemic might impact your MBA experience?
I think COVID has. has really it has shocked the world. It has shocked every organization and forced every organization, and every entity to really rethink their operations and rethink their strategies, rethink their the way they think about the world, their perspectives, and to come out with solutions that they might not have considered a little while back. And I remember having read these certain articles about 2018, 2019, where there was talk of online MBAs taking over the world, and how they would how they are benefiting at the expense of full-time MBA programs in the US. And then there were the traditionalists who would say that it is going to be about the classroom experience, and it is always going to be the flagship program for every B school. But COVID has really forced even the most traditional B school to consider at least some element of online education or online delivery of teaching. So I think that it COVID has impacted, and will continue to impact how education happens, generally, and in specific terms. In my case, as far as my MBA experience at Chicago Booth is concerned. But what I'm given to understand is that our classes uh, might, if everything goes as planned, or everything goes, if the COVID situation in the US, keeps showing a bit of downward trend, then it may be, an in-classroom experience for our class, which is exciting, and which is something that would really make the MBA experience full, because whatever anybody says, classes over Zoom is just not something that would provide the perfect
Of
experience.
course.
But all I can say is, this experience, this entire 1 year's experience has shown us, or has forced us so much to expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
That even in case classes were to be delivered online, and if the experience was not to be complete, I am sure that the community as a whole, the students, the faculty, the staff, and the administration of Chicago Booth, I think everybody will come together and ensure that it is better than it was last year, and it is learning from all the mistakes that might have been made
Right.
during the better part of this year.
Yeah. Now they are well equipped to handle the crisis. Yeah.
Yes, and I have been surprised by talking to current students, how quickly every B school, including Chicago Booth, uh, was able to transition from in classroom
Oh, yeah.
programs to online delivery of education,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is something that is really is encouraging, to say the least,
Of
for a
course.
prospective or for an incoming student.
Of course. It is. All right, Shekhar. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And I wish you good luck with your Chicago Booth MBA experience, and a continued success in your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Uh,
It was
Thank
great
you.
assisting you with your applications. I really enjoyed assisting you with your applications.
Thank you so much, Poonam. It was indeed, it has been indeed a pleasure for me to talk to you, and I have loved every bit of the process that we had. Even our I appreciate you having worked, even on New Year's Eve, and on several weekends, during the MBA application process, to just ensure that I had sufficient time to then review it and then send it back to you again for any review that might have had. And I learned so much about the admissions process, and about how admission committee members think, from your words and your actions, that I can be, I can help a few students achieve their
Good to
dreams
know.
of getting into certain B schools.
Good to know that you feel yourself in a position to help other applicants, and this interview also will be a helpful resource for the
I
prospective
am.
applicants.
I hope so. Actually, I forgot to mention. I mean, it was like one of the other resources, because it had always been a challenge for me to find material that would be relevant to me, or find some story that would apply to me or be relevant to me. And I really found that certain interviews that you had conducted with with say with bureaucrats who had who had quit their job and then found admissions into some USB schools. I really found them to be really helpful, and because there, if there is somebody who was in their 30s and who had spent a bit of time in the public services and who is also targeting a US B school. I figured it was something that at least had some element of commonality with me,
Yeah,
and I benefited so much from that interview. And I hope
very
that
good.
this interview also helps people who are on the fence and struggling to find the right path.
Of course, I think you are referring to Rohit's interview. The,
Perhaps, yes, yes,
yeah, who got accepted into Kellogg. I'm so glad.
yeah.
And I let him know that his interview helped you. So, and your interview
Thank
will
you.
also be a helpful resource for prospective applicants in your industry and others too.
I hope
So
so.
much
I
for your,
hope so too.
yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was really nice talking to you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Take care.
You too.